Hey everybody, and welcome back to another second grade science video here with Mr. C. And today we are going to continue on with our simple machine exploration, and today we are going to explore the screw, one of the last simple machines to be invented, and wasn't really used extensively as we know it today until about the 1600s. Excellent. Hey, let's check out what we need for this build. Head on over to my materials page. And here we are. Really, you're only going to need about three things. You're going to need a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver. It is helpful if you have more than one, right? A long one or a short one. You know, if you do, great. If you only have one at home, that's totally fine, right? This is just to kind of introduce you into the screw and how it works. And then we're going to go over here to Phillips screws. Again, it's helpful if you have different thread sizes. What I mean by that is having one screw where the thread is loose and spread apart, another one where the threads are very tight. If you can get both or you have both lying around, fantastic. If you only have one type of screw, that's totally fine too, right? It's helpful if you have different kinds just to kind of explore how difficult or easy it is. Last, a scrap piece of wood. Doesn't need to be very long, 6 inches to a foot, depends on how much drilling or screwing in with screwdrivers you want to do. So 6 inches to 1 foot is fine. It is helpful if you have your holes pre-drilled. Obviously, you're going to want to have an adult help you with that. If you don't, again, I'll show you on the video, and I'm going to pre-drill my holes here. I'll show you on the video how to do it, how to get it started without drilling the holes. Anyway. Enough of that. Let's head on over to our lab and let's get going with exploring the screw. Hey everybody, welcome back to another science episode here with Mr. C. Today is a second grade simple machine build. You can see I have all the materials you're probably going to need here. If you checked out my materials page before, you should have most of the stuff. I went overboard, obviously, have a lot of stuff. I have two special guests, again, joining me on the show. To my immediate right, I have Mr. Ken.
I'm back.
He's back. He helped me out with the kindergarten video. Man, he had the one that fizzed over, really awesome.
The red one.
And to my right, I have none other than Gotham's famous crime fighter, Batman. Batman, thank you so much for showing up on the show. I know you got a lot of crime fighting, the Penguin, the Joker, Bane, you know, all those guys. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come out and do this build. All right, hey, before we get into this, before we get into the build, we're gonna talk a little bit about a screw, okay? A screw is one of the 6 simple machines, one of the classic simple machines, all right? It was one of the last ones to be invented. And I'm going to show you how the screw works. It's actually really, really cool when you see it up close. Let's check it out up close and we'll see different types of screws. Here we go. All right, folks, we're back and we've got a close-up view here. And I've got some screws here. Some of you may be already familiar, you know, with these type of screws. These are probably something your mom and dad use at home. These are regular screws. Use these for fastening wood or metal or whatever you want to use. All right, something else you're going to look at, this is a corkscrew, right? And the name actually implies that it's a screw. And that obviously works by twisting. We're going to talk about what a screw does, but you're twisting, and I can twist this just like that. Now, another great one, this is a vise, and you can look really close. And what I'm doing is I'm going to turn, and watch what happens when I turn this. Right? It's bringing this closer together. And then I can go the opposite way and it opens it up. So if we do this really slow, you can see, let's do another, we'll do view here, it's another screw, and as I go like this, I turn it, it actually is moving this clamp forward, right? Moving it to my left. If I go the other way, it moves it the other way, right? And that's what a screw does, right? Now, and I'll explain more about what that does. I want you to look at my two different screws. We're gonna use two different screws today, okay? The one on my left, don't worry about the color. The one on my left, this one, that's like your regular interior, it's like a wooden screw. Now I want you to notice the difference between, see if I can really focus here on that. You can really notice the difference in the threads. This one, they're really, really wide apart. This one, they're very close together. All right, let's go back to the crew and let's talk about what that means. Back. Now, as I was saying, the screw, what that does, and the reason it's so useful, right, it's turning we call that rotational energy, when you spin something around and around. Like when I take my corkscrew and I spin it around and around, or like Ken, see, he's spinning that round and around. As he does that, what's happening? This is moving forward and backwards, right? So you're turning rotational energy or rotational motion into linear motion. Now, could you imagine trying to squeeze this as tight as you can? You wouldn't really be able to. So that's why we use a machine. All right. Before we get into our build, all we're really going to do is just experiment with screwdrivers and screws. My two screws, my yellow plated one, this is yellow zinc, and the screws or the threads are really, really far apart. Okay. Now, that means it's going to take less rotations. I don't have to turn it as much, but because they're so wide apart, it's going to take more force to push them in. My black screw here, this is a drywall screw. The threads are really close together. It's going to take less force for me to put it in wood, but I have to do it more, right? Because there's more threads, I have to turn it more. And that's really what a machine does. You can either apply more force and do less motion, or you can have more motion, less force. The ones with the really, really tight threads together like that, that's going to be a lot stronger. It's going to hold a lot stronger. All right, hey, Batman and Ken, you guys ready to experiment with this?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's put our vise down. Put everything down. And we each have.
Do we get to pick one?
We're gonna pick one in a minute here, and I'm gonna put each of us are gonna get two screws, two yellow zinc screws. Yeah. Each of us are gonna get one drywall screw.
One.
Now, what I did before, right? I took my wood and I drilled 3 pilot holes in there, not super deep, just enough to get the screw started. Now, you don't have to do that. You can do it old school, if you don't have, and you can just put it here and then just get it started like that if you want. To make it easier, I just put it in here. Now, screwdrivers are super helpful, okay?
Yes.
Because, let's do it without a screwdriver first. Let's do it. We're going to put our screw in and go ahead and try and twist it with your fingers.
Ow.
And if you're doing this at home, go ahead and try it with me. Try and turn it. Ow, man.
It's cutting me.
It like really hurts, right? How are you doing there, Batman? Yeah, looks like he's doing all right. He looks like he's having a hard time. It's really cutting into my fingers.
Yes,
so
it cuts into mine.
And I can get it started, but I can't get it going anymore. So a screwdriver is going to take our energy, right, and it's going to apply it downward as we rotate it, okay? Now, I've got different assorted screwdrivers. We're all going to do the short one first.
Yeah, I get the stubby one.
We're going to do this, don't do the stubby one, do this one first, because we're going to experiment with that. As you can see, I have a little one here, and we're going to talk about that. So go ahead and, with your screwdriver there, Batman, and we're going to go ahead and screw it in.
Yeah.
Now, I can do it with one hand.
Well, you gotta hold the wood down.
And I hold the wood down, right? And I'll do a close-up of this in a minute. But what's happening is my hands are rotating, and that is pushing the screw down. Remember, turning rotational motion into linear motion. And then, now of course, Ken said in the beginning, he's like, oh, I thought we were using like power screwdrivers. And I said, no, we're gonna do old school. Now it gets to a point where it gets really difficult to put in, right? The more it gets in there, the deeper, right? Just like that. So now, I have a pretty easy time doing that, but Ken and Batman, right, they're really struggling with this, right? Because it just gets to be a point where, you know, the screwdriver's not helping, it's just in too deep. So now, what can we do?
Hammer!
Hammer wouldn't work. Let's go ahead and try
a
longer screwdriver. Now try, yeah, do it like that. And I'll hold this once you use both hands. And this is great, right? So now he's having a little bit easier time. A longer screwdriver, not much, but it's a little bit, right? He's able to use both hands. And if you can't get it all the way in, that's okay, right? It's just experience. Good, that's good. Good. Okay. Now we're gonna do that one more time, but now we're gonna try it. I'm gonna give Batman the stubby.
I want the stubby one.
Ken's gonna get the stubby one, and I'll get the little one again. And this time I'm gonna focus in. No, you're gonna take a new screw. So go ahead and take a new screw. Take a new screw.
I'm gonna do the drywall.
We'll do the drywall last.
Yeah.
Okay, what I want to do is Batman's gonna use this little one, and let's go ahead and focus on what he's doing right now.
Get the stubby.
All right, let's take a look here. Okay, so Batman's having a really hard time because if you look at this screwdriver, right, it's not meant for this, right? He's having a real hard time. It's a really small screwdriver. He really can't get a lot of motion. He can't get a lot of what we would call torque. All right, Ken's having a hard time too. Let's see it, Ken.
Oh, it's on the side.
It's okay. All right, and so he's able to do it, but it's just really, really difficult. Let's let's zoom in and let's take a look at.
This is actually easier than before.
Yeah, a little bit easier, right? All right. So Batman's having a hard time. Batman, why don't you switch to this really long one and see what we can do here? And I want to really focus in on this screw as it goes in.
Wow.
Okay.
Almost deeper than before.
So you can really see that screw, as it's turning, it's going in the wood. Not bad, right? I'll hold it down again for you. Pretty good, right? As he's turning it, those threads are moving in the direction that he's turning. So what's happening is then that pushes the screw down. And if you go, now go ahead and back it up. Go the opposite way, Batman. And as he backs it up, right, the screw comes out. Pretty cool. All right, let's go back and let's use the drywall screws right now. All right, hey, we're back, and now we're going to go ahead and we're starting off with our black screws, right? And these are the ones where the threads are really, really, really close together, okay? Now, I'm going to explain why Batman, I don't know why he's not back yet, but, oh, Bruce Wayne.
Yep, that's me.
Mr. Wayne, billionaire extraordinaire. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, how's everything going in Gotham?
Oh, Gotham's great.
Okay, well, that's not what you do. Okay.
Lots of criminals there.
Oh, man. Well,
Batman had a hard time, so there's another crime there, so he had to go leave early.
Good thing we had.
It's sad, but I mean, I'm here, so.
Well, hey, good thing we've got Batman on the job. Okay, so now with this, right, Batman was having a hard time with this. Okay, what you're gonna, right, this is just too small of a screwdriver, right, and you can't get enough advantage, right, and we call that mechanical advantage, right, where you're using the machine and it's helping you out. Well, there's gonna get to be a point where I just can't get a good grip on it, and it's not meant for this. So I'm gonna use a regular screwdriver, and then I see how I can grip it, and then all I have to do is just turn my wrist, right? And that's going to give me more of an advantage. Now, the drywall screws, as you notice, right, it's going to take a lot more rotations, okay? But it's going to be a little bit easier to get that all the way in. So that's something that you have to trade off. Do you want to work harder at this? Do you want to spin it more, or do you want to do it in the least amount of time but use more force? Okay. Now this is less of a build and more of introduction into simple machines and screws. Do me a favor, right? When you go out and you look for screws, because you're going to be done with this lesson and you're going to go out and you're going to see screws everywhere. And I don't mean these kind of screws. You're going to see them in corkscrews. Oh, I totally forgot. I have a great example of a screw. You all have seen this every single day. This is a screw. Have you ever had to turn it? Now let me show you. See the threads there? That is an example of a screw. I'm turning rotational energy into a rotational motion into linear motion by pushing the cap down.
Yep.
Cool. Now, please try this at home, right? This is something, right? If you don't have a screwdriver, and don't use a screwdriver like that. That's an example of what not to do. The right tool for the right job. Okay.
What if you're trying to get it in?
If you're trying to get it in, then what I do is I put my hand like this. No, I put it like this, and then I just push it down really hard.
But
so if I need to get you here, I'll get you started here. So this is, again, if you don't have a drill, this is an easy way to get it started.
Whoa.
Right? And then you just got to spin it. Remember, you're turning rotational motion into linear motion. Bruce, Mr. Wayne, I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne. I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne, you have a question.
It's actually a challenge for the folks at home.
Ooh.
See how many screws you could fit onto this wood block here.
Ooh, that is pretty good, right? So if you want to start off and drill 3 pilot holes, and then if you want to do more, that's totally fine,
Like
right? Now, I like to use kind of a little bit longer of a screwdriver, right? And that's just me, just because it's easier for me to line up. I can see where I'm screwing into. It doesn't slip as much. These short stubby ones are really great, but for doing something where I have this much, I find I have to use my thumb and fingers a lot more, and those just aren't as strong as my whole hand. So this, I can take my whole hand around, and now I'm using my whole arm to screw this in. Well, folks, that is your simple machine introduction to screws. Screws have been around for a long. Here you go. Fun fact about the screw. Did you guys know that the screw was one of the last simple machines to be invented?
No.
Well, big question, why? My second graders did levers with me, and levers are really easy. Boom, boom, and there's my lever, right? We did a wedge. We did the air wedge. Pretty easy, right? A wedge. But imagine it's the year 900 AD, right? And it's, or 900 CE, Common Era.
BC.
Not BC, well, you can go 900 BC if you want. Could you imagine they didn't have complicated machines to make screws? So each one of these would have to be built by hand. Now look at those threads. Would you imagine carving that by hand and doing, oh, I don't know, 1 pound of these? So yeah, that's a lot of screws and making those by hand.
Wrong way.
So you really didn't see screws become fasteners until about the 1700s. Before that, they used them in a lot of things. They used screws as presses, as vices. And hey, 3rd grade, if you're out there, I've got a build for you. We're actually gonna build a screw in a couple weeks. Stand by for that. Hey, if you didn't see our last 2nd grade video on, what's that?
Wedges.
What about that?
Oh,
magnetized?
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them, yeah, they're magnetized.
No, I like this one.
Yeah, these are magnetized. That just helps you. Not part of the sights, but hey, great observation. These are magnetized, so you don't lose your screw on there. Hey, if you didn't see the last video on wedges, air wedges, lifting up paint cans and stuff using a Ziploc bag and straws, click down here, right where Bruce Wayne is sitting there having a lot of fun. Click on Bruce Wayne. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, click right here on my goldfish. And hey, Mr. Wayne, outstanding. Thanks for joining us. I hope Batman's okay.
Oh, he's fine. He just needed to go to the crime scenes.
Oh, good.
They needed him to solve the crimes.
Oh, good. Well, good thing we have Batman on the case. Mr. Ken, hey, not only, look at that. Like, he's so busy working on it, he's doing a left-handed shake. I like that. Not only helped me with kindergarten, but second grade. Folks, thank you so much. Please don't use the screwdriver that way. My heart skips a beat in a bad way every time you do that. All right.
Okay.
Thank you all, and we'll see you all next week for more second grade science.